Incredible Billionaire reveals how one struggling single mom changed his life and his son's future. Jake Roberts was a billionaire in every sense of the word. He owned the town. His business empire towered above the Midwestern landscape like a monument to success. But as he stood in the bustling local market that bright afternoon, surrounded by laughter and familiar faces, a hollowness gnawed at the edges of his heart. He had it all: money, power, influence, but still, he felt lost. Like everyone was moving on without him, while he remained chained to the emptiness of wealth. Amidst the clamor of shoppers, he struggled to juggle grocery bags, the weight of them matching the heaviness in his spirit. His eyes scanned the rows of produce, the vibrant colors of apples and carrots bursting with life, but all he could see were the shadows of discontent within himself. That's when Rachel Thompson appeared, her tired figure a beacon of warmth. She handed him a friendly smile, her eyes twinkling with kindness. "Need a hand?" she asked, and without waiting for an answer, she relieved him of the awkward pile. As they talked, the contrast couldn't have been starker. Rachel, a single mother working 2 jobs just to get by, illuminated with dreams for her spirited son, Michael. Her aspirations flowed like a gentle stream, pouring out tales of college visits and opportunities. Her fierce determination tugged at Jake's heart more than any business deal ever could. "I just want him to have a chance at a better life," she said, vulnerability overflowing. He felt a tightness in his chest, a flutter of inspiration, unlike anything driven by profit margins. But sometimes, that inspiration comes at a cost. Just as Jake's business began to falter, Rachel's relentless optimism brought unexpected hope. Together, they dove into community events, farmers markets, school fundraisers, every moment reminding Jake about what truly mattered beyond the boardroom: connection, unity, and resilience woven into the fabric of their small town. Yet, the budding connection between them faced its testing moments. Jake's intention to support Rachel took a sharp turn when local gossip claimed he aimed to manipulate the town's values. The warm glances turned cold, murmurs followed him like shadows. He wanted to help impact Michael's future, make it brighter, but the town's protection of their own felt like an unbreakable wall. The tipping point arrived when Michael was wrongfully accused of theft at school. Outrage rippled through the community, and Jake felt an overwhelming urge to use his influence to help. He believed he could do it right, but Rachel felt otherwise. In a blistering confrontation, she yelled, "You think you can just swoop in and fix everything? This isn't to your world, Jake." And there it was, passion mixed with frustration, a powerful reminder of the divide between them. Jake felt the walls of doubt closing in. Was wealth just a shield covering reality? As the tension between him and Rachel became palpable, he wrestled with guilt. He needed her to see that he wasn't just a billionaire disconnected from the ground. He went home that night, worries binding his heart, wondering if he could find a way to prove Michael's innocence without both of their hands being muddied in the process. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake lay wide awake, plans whirling through his mind, the community was in turmoil, desperately searching for justice. Faced with doubt and a myriad of questions, could he find common ground with Rachel? Or was he destined to become another figure in the story of strife and misunderstanding in their tight-knit town? The night grew darker, hanging thick with uncertainty, leaving them both staring into an abyss of unresolved conflict and hope. Jake stared at the ceiling, the shadows flickering from the streetlight outside barely lighting his thoughts. He felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. That confrontation with Rachel replayed in his mind, her words digging into his conscience like thorns. He wasn't just admiring her grit anymore. He felt an urgent need to redeem himself in her eyes, to show her he was more than a gilded cage. At dawn, he wandered into the kitchen, pouring himself a cup of coffee. The robust aroma filled the air, but it didn't provide the comfort he craved. He had to move beyond his fortress of solitude. They needed action, real action, not just lofty ideas thrown around in board meetings. That was when an idea struck him. To redeem his reputation and prove he genuinely cared, he decided to host a town meeting. A gathering designed to bring the community together, where they could discuss Michael's case openly. It was a long shot, but he hoped it would demonstrate his intention to support Rachel and Michael without imposing his wealth. Over the next few days, Jake threw himself into organizing the meeting. He found a local community center willing to host the gathering. Word spread quickly. Some were excited, while others remained skeptical. He met with local patrons, but each conversation felt like walking through a minefield. Their suspicion was palpable, each word heavily laced with doubt and intrigue. "Jake, are you sure this is a good idea?" one of his associates warned him. "They don't see you as one of their own. You could make things worse." But Jake was resolute. He had witnessed the goodness of the town through Rachel and Michael. The warmth of their kindness ignited something deep within him. So, he pushed forward, even as whispers trailed him at every corner. When the night of the meeting finally arrived, Jake stood in front of a packed room, his heart hammering in his chest. Familiar faces turned to him, wary but hopeful. Rachel was there too, her expression unreadable. Would she back him up, or had he miscalculated again? "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice steady despite the tension. The murmurs faded into silence. "I know I'm not from here. I know you view me as an outsider." A few nods, but mostly silence. "But I care. I care about this town. And I care about our kids." He spoke of Michael, the injustice he faced, and their shared future. He evoked memories of their community's bond, their resilience. Each word opened something in the room, allowing the flicker of understanding where there was doubt before. He watched Rachel's stance soften. Perhaps she was starting to see him as he wished to be seen. As the night unfolded, something shifted. Questions arose, discussions ignited, and the crowd began to engage. It felt alive, a spark he hadn't anticipated. Then, amid the hope, an unexpected voice cut through the air. Old Man Peterson, a respected figure in the town, stood up. "Why should we trust you, Jake?" His voice commanded attention. "What's in it for you?" Jake felt the eyes on him, hard and skeptical. His throat tightened. But this was at the moment of truth. He took a breath, focusing on Rachel's watchful gaze. "Nothing," he said simply. "If I wanted to hide behind my money, I would have stayed in my office. But I'm here to learn, to grow, and to help." A murmur ran through the crowd. Could they trust him? But before he could continue, the front door burst open, panic spilling in as a breathless young woman rushed inside. "It's Michael. He's in trouble again." The room plunged into a sharp silence, tension thick and oppressive, anticipation crackling in the air. Jake exchanged an alarmed glance with Rachel, adrenaline surging through him. What trouble could this be? Did he really have the power to help, or was he walking into a storm far beyond his control? Jake's mind raced as he turned to the young woman, whose panicked expression spoke volumes. "What happened?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite the knots tightening in his stomach. The room was still, every eye focused on her, waiting for answers they didn't want but desperately needed. "There was a fight at school," she stammered, her words tumbling over each other. "Michael, he's hurt, and the others, they're saying things. They're saying it's his fault." A low murmur spread through the crowd. Jake felt sweat pooling at the back of his neck. Rachel stiffened, her gaze locked onto the young woman. He could see the concern, the love burning in her eyes for her son. He knew that look. It was a mother's instinct burning bright in the face of chaos. "I need to get to the school," Rachel said, her voice cracking slightly as she shoved her way through the crowd. Jake's heart lurched. He had said he wanted to help, but how could he stand by when it mattered most? "Wait. Let me come with you," he called, his own urgency stirring him to action. To his surprise, Rachel turned and met his eyes. There was a flicker of something in her expression, doubt. Hope? The moment seemed to stretch out, hanging like a fragile thread. She nodded, and without another word, they rushed out together, the whispers of the crowd fading behind them. As they drove through the familiar streets, Jake stole glances at Rachel. She sat beside him, her hands gripping the dashboard like a lifeline, her determination palpable. "What do we do?" he asked, brushing a hand through his hair, trying to think clearly. "We go up there and find out what happened," she said, the steel in her voice mingling with vulnerability. "Michael might need us more now than ever." An image of that town meeting flashed in his mind, the potential of connection and trust that had emerged, now under threat by rumors and fear. This was no longer just about his redemption, it was about a child caught in the crossfire. Arriving at the school, he parked haphazardly, the car coming to an abrupt halt. They leapt out, hearts pounding. As they entered the front door, chaos greeted them. Students milled around, voices rising, teachers trying to restore order. The scent of sweat and fear hung in the air, thick and oppressive. Rachel's eyes darted around, searching an instinctual hunt for her son. Jake felt a sudden clarity. He wasn't just an observer anymore. He was part of this. Every moment counted. He had to prove that he could be more than just a man of wealth. "Where's the principal?" he asked a passing teacher. "He's in the office," she replied, urgency lighting her tone, rushing past them. "Let us go," he said to Rachel. Together they pushed through the hall, shoulders firm. As they reached the office, Jake caught a glimpse of Michael, his face pale, eyes wide with fear. But the scene was about to spiral further, the tension thickening the air. The door opened, and the principal stepped out, frustration etched across his face. "I need to speak to the parents of the children involved." Jake could feel the moment teetering on the edge. What if the truth was more complicated than anyone expected? "What's happening?" he asked, steeling himself, determined to understand. The principal spared a glance at the two of them, confusion wrinkling his brow. "This isn't for you two to decide. You don't know what's at stake." The room buzzed with uncertainty, and Jake felt the weight of many eyes. The town, the community, and Michael, it all hinged on this moment. But then he remembered Rachel's unwavering strength, the light she brought into tough times. Whatever they were walking into, he was right alongside her, ready to face the storm. "Then let us in," Rachel's voice rang out clearly, filled with passion. "We deserve to know what's happening to our son." Jake turned, looking into her fierce expression. This wasn't just Rachel fighting for her child. It was a stand for the spirit of the entire community. What lay ahead felt monumental, and yet, he knew it was just the beginning of a battle that would test them all. He took a deep breath, realizing that it was no longer just about redemption for him. It was about standing for what was right. But would that be enough? As they pushed forward, unanswered questions loomed heavy over them, ready to reveal the truth. The principal hesitated, the stress etched deep in his features. "You need to understand, this isn't just a fight. It's much larger." His voice seized the room, and Jake felt the hairs on his arms stand up. "What do you mean?" Rachel pressed, her voice slicing through the tension. She had transformed from a worried mother to a fierce advocate in an instant. Jake could practically see the flames of determination blazing from her expression. "We don't have time for speculation. Michael's involved in something that could." The principal cut himself off, quickly shaking his head as if he was not ready to share what lingered on the tip of his tongue. "My son is hurt." Rachel stepped forward, her voice resonating with raw emotion. "If there's something we need to know, we have to know now." With a sigh, the principal glanced back toward his office, then nodded, the weight of responsibility heavy on him. "Fine, come inside." Jake and Rachel moved in tandem, stepping thickly into the office, where the air was a mix of papery scents and an undercurrent of panic. The small room felt closed in, shadows creeping along the walls as news trickled in from outside. Inside, they saw a group of parents huddled, their faces etched with worry. Jake's heart sank as he recognized Michael's friends, boys he'd seen playing video games at their house a million times. It didn't take long for the room to fill with the whispers of anxious questions, punctuated by the sudden opening slams of the door. "Didn't you see what he did? He started it." one boy shouted, pointing as though it were his finger that could decide guilt or innocence. Michael's friend, Kyle, jumped to his feet, his voice shaking. That's not true. He was just trying to. Rachel turned to them, voice trembling but resolute. Can anyone tell us what happened? The silence stretched, a taut wire threatening to snap. Before anyone could respond, another teacher rushed in, her eyes darting, full of urgency. We need everyone in the gym. There's a situation that requires immediate attention. Jake squeezed Rachel's hand, grounding himself amid the chaos. We should go, he suggested, and although Rachel didn't respond verbally, he knew her fierce resolve had shifted into action mode once again. Together they filed out, the buzz of voices trailing behind them. The gymnasium doors swung open to reveal a chaotic scene. Students lined the walls, eyes fixed on the unfolding drama at the center. A small group of older kids faced the crowd, anger crackling in the space between them. Jake felt anger welling within. It was more than just a fight. Michael! Rachel's voice rose above the clamor as she searched the crowd. And there he was, sitting on the gym floor, face bruised but proud, his chin tilted high. Relief washed over her, mixed with an immediacy to protect him. He looked up at her, and they locked eyes. Jake noticed a flicker of fear beneath Michael's expression, a hint that didn't match the brave facade he was maintaining. What do we do now? Jake murmured, eyeing the tension in the gym. Rachel's gaze sharpened. We find out why this happened, and we make sure Michael is safe. As they approached, the older kids looked ready for anything. A storm gathered at their feet, words like weapons ready to be thrown. Then, from somewhere behind, she heard a voice blurting out accusations that pulled the entire room into silence. He's a spoiled brat. He acts like he's better than us. Jake felt a jolt of anger and injustice settle in his chest. That one sentence had the weight of judgment, the power to shift alliances in this fragile space. Would they really blame Michael, a boy just trying to navigate the messy world of adolescence? But beyond the anger, worry tugged at him. There had to be a way to bring understanding back into this chaos. Feeling Rachel's grasp tighten on his arm, he turned to her, needing to convey the weight of this moment. We need to address this, and we will, she said fiercely. But how? Jake's mind raced, the tension crackling around them like a live wire. He knew the pieces were starting to fall into place, and as he looked at Michael, there was no doubt in his heart. They were about to step into something much larger than a schoolyard brawl, something that could shake the very foundation of their community. But would they be ready for the truth that awaited them? Or would the shadows of misunderstanding swallow them whole? As the room closed in, Jake realized the stakes had never been higher, and what lay ahead would challenge everything he thought he knew. Michael's mind whirled amidst the ruckus. He squinted against the bright gym lights, his heart pounding in his chest. It felt as if every eye in the room was dissecting him, trying to make sense of what happened. The moment hung heavy, like a thick fog settling over the gym. Stay calm, buddy, he whispered to himself, even as panic threatened to take hold. He noticed Rachel weaving through the sea of students, her eyes filled with that relentless motherly determination. He lifted his chin, trying to hold on to some semblance of pride, even with the throbbing ache in his face reminding him of the fight. I didn't mean to, he started, but the words caught in his throat as more accusations flew his way. She thinks she owns this school, one girl yelled, her tone laced with bitter envy. Always acting like she's better than us. Michael's stomach twisted at those words. He never meant to come across like that. Just then, a voice cut through the commotion like a knife. Everyone! Enough! A tall teacher stepped forward, her stern expression demanding attention. Let us get this straight. We're handling this like adults, not children. Gather in a circle. As students formed a loose circle, Jake and Rachel pushed to the front. With every step, Rachel kept a protective hand on Michael's shoulder, and seeing her fierce gaze made him feel a flicker of safety amidst the chaos. Can you tell us what happened, Michael? She asked gently, even as heat rose in her cheeks. He hesitated, the weight of his friend's eyes on him. I wanted to try out for the soccer team. They were saying stuff during practice, and when I didn't join in the laughs you acted like you were better than us. A boy shot back. It was Kyle, his voice breaking, as if he feared turning on Michael would end the friendship they had shared for years. I wasn't. Michael protested, emotions surging within him. I was just trying to do my own thing. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Enough. The teacher's voice rang clear, slicing through the tension. This isn't about who's better or worse. It's about understanding why we're feeling this way. But Michael felt too exposed, too raw to share what really drove him. He didn't want Rachel to know about the whispers behind his back, the subtle nudges that threw him off balance. That he felt alone in a crowd where he was supposed to belong. And then it hit him, the panic that had filled the gym wasn't just about the fight. It was fear of losing friends, fear of turning away from what everyone else expected of him. Michael took a deep breath and locked eyes with Jake. I just wanted to fit in, he whispered, a little louder now. But it felt like no one wanted me to be there. Rachel's heart shifted for her son, yet she could see the light in his eyes flickering. But being true to yourself is what matters most. Her voice caught the crowd's attention, and with a soft intensity, she continued, it's okay to want to be yourself even when others don't understand. A murmur passed through the room. The tension shifted slightly as emotions surfaced among the students, revealing a glimpse of shared struggles. Finally, the teacher stepped in again. Let us take this moment to express how we truly feel without judgment. Jake felt the tide turn as students began speaking up, admitting their own insecurities, their struggles to fit in, just like Michael. As voices flowed, he realized there was something deeper at play, a divide that reached beyond this fight. But before the teacher could steer the conversation further, the gym doors flew open, and a figure paused at the entrance. It was the principal, his face a mask of concern. We need to talk. Right now again. The room hushed as eyes turned. Jake's heart raced. What now? What bigger storm were they being pulled into? Michael's fear crept back in as he thought about what lay ahead. Would they find the answers they needed, or were they headed toward an even darker truth? The principal stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk pinpointing its prey. Silence draped over the gym, as if holding its breath, waiting for him to break the tension. Michael felt the weight of scrutiny pressing heavier than before. He shifted on his feet, pulling away slightly from Rachel's grasp, longing for independence but also comfort. Everyone, the principal began, his voice steady but firm. I know there's been an incident today, a fight that disturbed our environment here at school. He paused, glancing specifically at Michael. I need to make sure you understand that fighting doesn't solve anything. Of course it doesn't. Kyle muttered under his breath, bitterness creeping into his words. Michael didn't respond. He knew Kyle was hurting too, caught in a web of expectations and fears. The principal continued, what happened isn't just about boys scrapping in the gym. It's about communication, about understanding each other's struggles. I want to ensure everyone feels safe and valued here. As he spoke, Michael felt a swell of resistance. Did they really get it? Did they truly understand what it felt like to wear a mask every day, pretending to be someone he wasn't, all while battling self-doubt that felt relentless? Then, Rachel spoke up, her voice unexpectedly fierce. You see, Michael didn't mean any harm. He's just trying to find his place among friends. I think many here are grappling with that same fear of not belonging. A ripple of agreement echoed from the crowd, a surprising show of solidarity. Michael looked around, heart pounding, not quite believing the courage his mother had just displayed. Some of his classmates looked down, shame washing over them. Others shifted uncomfortably but nodded, eyes betraying their own hidden thoughts, memories of feeling invisible. We're all in this together, the principal interjected, trying to weave the threads of their thoughts into something constructive. You may not agree on everything or even get along, but support should be the foundation of your shared experience. Let us make a commitment to try to understand one another. Easier said than done, a voice piped up at the back. The group turned to see Mia, a quieter classmate, who usually kept to herself. How are we supposed to support each other when we don't even know what we're feeling? Her question hung like a cloud, and Michael's heart raced again. Would they go deeper? He again found himself searching Jake's eyes for reassurance. Jake shrugged slightly, a look of confusion on his face. Just like Michael, didn't he have all the answers? In that pregnant pause, waiting for someone to respond, Michael felt something shift inside him. The weight he had felt, the unspoken pressure of not meeting expectations mixed with something new. Maybe they could navigate this together. The realization made his hands clench into fists at his sides, yet it was a different kind of tension. This was a fight worth having, not for himself alone but for everyone around him. Maybe we should try sharing more, Michael suddenly blurted. His voice wavered through the silence but held a quiet strength. If we can be honest about what we're going through, maybe it'll help. The weight of that statement felt profound, wrapping around the room like an unexpected hug. The principal nodded, encouragement flickering in his eyes. A powerful step, Michael. Speaking can lift burdens you don't even know you're carrying. Let us focus on that. Just then, the school bell rang, signaling that their time was almost up. The principal motioned for everyone to gather their things, but Michael's heart raced with lingering uncertainty. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, possibly more fights, both physical and emotional. As students shuffled toward the doors, he caught Rachel's gaze, reflecting hope and strength. But would that hope be enough to carry him through whatever lay ahead? Michael, Rachel whispered as they walked out together, no matter what, I'm proud of you. Those words settled into his heart like sunlight piercing clouds, yet a question loomed large in his mind. Would he have the courage to continue sharing his truth, or would fear pull him back into isolation? As the crowd dissipated, Michael's thoughts drifted toward the unexpected whirlwind soon heading their way, and he wondered if they were truly ready for the storm. The next day felt like stepping into a new chapter, an uncertain dawn with the weight of yesterday still hanging thick in the air. Michael stood at his locker, feeling the silent hum of the school around him. Conversations fluttered by, snippets of laughter and whispers that danced through the hallways, but he felt an invisible barrier separating him from it all. Hey! Jake's voice broke through his thoughts, drawing his attention. He looked up to see his friend approaching, a fisted hand raised in greeting. So, about what you said yesterday. Michael shrugged, a bashful smile escaping. Yeah? I thought about it. I mean, sharing things is kinda scary, right? But if we all did it together, maybe we wouldn't feel so isolated. Jake's eyes flickered with an openness that hadn't been there before. I think I want to try. Breath catching in Michael's throat, he nodded. Yeah, me too. It was a flicker of hope, a tiny gust of wind beneath his wings. Suddenly, the prospect of opening up didn't seem so daunting. As they talked, the crowd around them began to shift. Mia, the quiet girl who had thrown out that bold question the day before, wandered closer. If you guys are doing this sharing thing, can I join? Michael's heart raced. The notion of including Mia was surprising but comforting. Of course, he said, the warmth of camaraderie filling the space around them as they broke down the walls built by loneliness. The trio huddled together, inching toward an underutilized corner of the bustling hallway where other students gave them curious looks. What if we set up a time to start a small group? Michael suggested. Mia bit her lip, her gaze thoughtful. Like a safe space? Just us talking? Exactly, Jake exclaimed, his face lighting up. We could even help others join in if they want to. Everyone could use this. It's not just us. That moment of revelation pulled them closer, tightening the threads of vulnerability and connection. The shadows of their insecurities faded slightly, replaced by tentative but eager conversations, laughter, and shared stories that hovered between hopes and fears. As the school day unfolded, whispers of their initiative began to spread. Michael felt invincible and terrified all at once. What if no one showed up? What if they didn't connect? But the thought of doing something meaningful, of empowering each other to voice their struggles, fueled his determination. At lunch, sitting at a crowded table, he noticed Kyle alone at the end, staring into his untouched tray. An instinct to reach out sparked inside him. "Hey, Kyle!" he called, forcing his voice to rise over the noise. Kyle looked up, guarded. "What do you want?" "Come and join us. We're starting a group to share, and it's okay if it gets messy. You don't have to go through it alone." To his surprise, Kyle hesitated before standing, the wariness melting in his eyes. "Fine. I guess I'll check it out." Michael felt an unexpected rush course through him. They were beginning to create something, build something real right in that cafeteria. "See, it's easy," Jake cheered, motioning for Kyle to come over. What's the worst that could happen? As they integrated Kyle into their circle, Michael couldn't shake the sense that they were on the brink of something significant. He could feel that storm brewing again, anticipation mixing with the possibility of change. But just as they were getting into the rhythm of their new dynamic, the unmistakable sound of raised voices echoed from across the gym, slicing through the chatter and laughter. Michael's heart sank, recognizing that sound too well. "Here we go again," he whispered, suddenly remembering how fragile this newfound bond felt. Would they be able to stand strong when the storm hit, or would they scatter like leaves in the wind? As he turned toward the escalating commotion, his mind raced. Would they be ready to face the battle ahead, one not just of fists but of their feelings? The outcome loomed, and he couldn't help but wonder, would they rise together in unity or crumble under the weight of their fears? The chaos grew louder. Michael could see a group of students forming near the gym entrance. Their faces were tense, some looking eager, others fearful. It was like the moment before thunder cracks in the sky, dangerous and electrifying. With instinct pulling at him, he felt the urge to intervene, to protect what they had just begun to build together. "Come on," he said, glancing at Jake and Mia, his voice barely above a whisper yet charged with urgency. "We should check it out." "What if it's a fight?" Mia's eyes darted nervously. "It doesn't matter. We have to try, together." He felt a stir of bravery, a desire to not let fear define them. They moved toward the noise, hearts racing and palms clammy. As they approached the gym, they caught snippets of the heated argument. Kyle, trailing close behind them, abruptly halted, sensing the growing tension. What if it's bad?" His voice trembled, echoing the anxiety swirling within the group. "Not all storms lead to chaos. Sometimes they bring clarity," Jake replied, half trying to reassure himself more than anything. Stepping into the gym filled with swirling bodies and raised voices, Michael felt his breath hitch as he locked eyes on the scene unfolding. Two students faced off, anger and frustration fueling their shouts, while onlookers either jeered or watched in silence, some of them echoing harmful words. The bubble of safety they had just started to build felt far away, vulnerable against this tide of aggression. "Stop it!" Michael's voice rang out, surprising even himself with its strength. Heads turned, the noise shifted, and for a brief moment, all eyes were on him. "Who do you think you are?" One of the confrontational boys sneered, his posture tense and aggressive. "I'm just someone who thinks we can do better than this," Michael replied, trying to summon every ounce of courage. "We're supposed to stand up for each other, not tear each other down." The room grew quiet. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Beside him, Jake stepped forward, emboldened by Michael's bravery. "We're starting a new group. A place where we can talk about what we're going through, without judgment. If you're tired of this back and forth, why not join us instead?" The initial hostility hung heavily in the air, but Michael sensed a shift. A girl in the corner whispered to her friend, and another student looked thoughtful, as though the idea planted a tiny seed of hope. Mia took a step closer, her voice softer but just as strong. "We can't fix everything overnight. But if we keep coming together, we might just make this place a little better for all of us." For a heartbeat, it felt like they were on the precipice of something larger, like the ground beneath might actually transform. Then, a loud laugh broke through the solemnity, quick and cutting. "Oh please! Like you can change anything!" The derision echoed in the room, sowing doubt like tiny thorns. Just as doubt began to creep back into Michael's heart, Kyle surged forward, surprising everyone. "You know what? You're right. We might not change the world. But if you want to keep arguing, then fine, just know we'll be over here trying something real. Michael's pulse quickened, pride bubbling through him at Kyle's newfound assertiveness. Maybe they could do this together after all. But the boy who scoffed stepped closer, his eyes dark with unwavering challenge. Let us see how long that lasts. And just like that, the moment of unity teetered on the edge of chaos. As the tension thickened again, Michael realized this was more than just about words. It was a battle for understanding, respect, and connection. Are we ready? He whispered to his friends, his heart thumping like a drum. Would they find the courage to navigate these murky waters together, or would their fragile bond be swept away by the current of conflict? For Michael, the answer was uncertain, the stakes undeniably high. The air pulsed with tension, almost electric as the murmurs in the gym rose like a frayed wire ready to snap. Michael's heart raced, pounding in sync with the shifting emotions surrounding him. He could see Kyle standing tall, his stance radiating newfound strength. It was as if the weight of the moment shifted ever so slightly, pushing them all closer to a tipping point. Behind him, Mia clutched Jake's arm, her eyes wide with fear but flickering with an ember of hope. We can't back down now, she whispered, urgency sparking with every syllable. Michael nodded, feeling that flicker grow. They had a chance to reshape the chaos into something meaningful. Look, Michael called out, raising his voice again, if you want to keep yelling, that's fine. But what do we get from it? Let us put our energy somewhere else. Let us have a real conversation. We can be better. The student who had laughed earlier glared, his sneer faltering for a moment. Conversation? Seriously? You're delusional if you think that'll actually work, he spat. But Michael noticed a few students around him shifting uncomfortably, their interest piqued. You might be surprised, Jake jumped in, his voice steadier now as confidence washed over him. We're tired of fighting. We want change. Just like you, whether you admit it or not. The atmosphere grew heavier, but it was different now. It felt like they were pushing against the tide, slowly carving a path forward through the fog of conflict. Kyle took a step back, his eyes scanning the crowd. Look, I get it. No one wants to be pushed around, and no one wants to be called out. But that's the point. We can build each other up instead of tearing each other down. We're not asking you to change overnight. Just start thinking about what's coming next. There was a stirring among the crowd. Some exchanged glances, a flicker of curiosity sparking in the eyes that had been filled with hostility just moments before. Michael felt his pulse quicken. Was it really happening? Could they be finding a way out of this chaos? Suddenly, a girl in the back stepped forward, her voice trembling. I actually think it could work. I mean, talking about stuff. I could try. She looked vulnerable, yet her admission shattered the wall of animosity, sending ripples of surprise through the crowd. See? Mia's voice broke through, filled with newfound determination. If we can speak up, we can find something that connects us. This isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding. The boy who had laughed hesitated, and Michael could almost see the gears turning in his mind. The air felt less like a battlefield now and more like a chance for everyone to finally breathe. Yet as the crowd began to murmur, voices mixing with tentative agreement, the original challenger stepped back, crossing his arms defiantly. Fine, but don't think this is over. We'll be waiting to see how your little group actually changes anything. Prove it, or else. Michael's heart sank, and he exchanged a worried glance with Jake. Hope flickered dimly, but it was intertwined with the grim reality that change wouldn't come easy, that the battle was far from over. They needed to be prepared for the backlash and challenges ahead. But in this moment, standing with his friends against an oncoming storm, Michael realized that even if the odds were stacked against them, they were not alone. They had each other. How do we make this work? Michael asked, the question echoing in the charged silence. And just like that, the next phase began. Would they be able to inspire more students to join their cause? Or would the same conflict swallow their efforts whole? As tension mingled with urgency, they braced for the challenge that awaited. Chaos erupted the next day, as the news of Michael's initiative spread through the school like wildfire. Students were buzzing with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. The gym felt electric with energy, but it was a fragile energy, teetering on the edge. Michael's heart raced as he and his friends prepared for what lay ahead. "Today's the day," he whispered, looking at Jake and Mia. They stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to face whatever came their way. "We believe in this. No backing down." Jake nodded, determination sparking in his eyes. As they entered, they found students gathered, the usual cliques forming strange alliances and staring daggers at each other. But there was an undercurrent of something else, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find common ground. They stepped forward, catching the attention of a group of students clustered around a table. "We need to talk about what happened," Michael stated firmly, raising his voice above the whispers. With Jake and Mia echoing his resolve, the three friends stood united before the mass of uncertainty, their hearts pounding in sync. A tall girl named Jasmine, someone known for her sharp tongue, stepped forward, crossing her arms defiantly. "What makes you think anything will change?" she challenged, eyes narrowing. "You think you can just plop down a group and expect everyone to magically get along?" Michael took a deep breath, his heart beat loud in his ears. "No, we don't think it's that easy. But we believe it starts with something small, like understanding each other as stories." The silence that followed hung heavy in the air. "Stories?" A voice called out from the back. Kyle's voice, the boy they had reached out to before. "What if I don't want to share?" Michael turned, feeling the weight of every gaze upon him. "Then just listen. We all have something to say, and we can learn from each other even if it means facing our fears." Slowly, a boy from a neighboring group shuffled forward. "I got in trouble for mouthing off in class yesterday. It felt good to let out my frustrations, but I know now that it just pushed people away." "See?" Mia interjected, excitement threading through her voice. "That essay start. If we can admit our mistakes, we can figure this out." With each new voice that rose to share their experiences, the tension began to break like fragile glass. The circle widened, eyes softening, walls lowering. Jasmine blinked, her gaze faltering. "Maybe we should be talking about this," she admitted, vulnerability creeping into her voice. As more stories unfolded, a connection formed, raw, honest, and real. Michael looked around, a rush of courage surging through him. "If we can do this, if we can share and listen, it could change how we see each other," he encouraged, feeling a sense of unity grow. Then, just when hope seemed brightest, the antagonistic boys from the gym returned. "What is this?" the leader sneered, breaking the moment of solidarity. "A pity party? No one wants to listen to you whiny kids." The room shifted, tension crackling once more. Michael's heart sank. He could feel the group waver. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice sharper than before. "No one is here to waste time. We're here to make this place better, and we need you to be part of that." Shock surprised the group, his audacity electrified the atmosphere. The leader blinked, confusion crossing his features. "Why should we trust you guys?" he scoffed, but didn't he move to back down. "Because we're all in this together," Jake chimed in, his fists clenching. "Nobody is perfect, and we all have our own struggles we barely show." Suddenly, one of the girls from Michael's earlier circle spoke up, her voice steady. "I don't think Michael is asking you to butt out or pretend we're happy. He is asking that we open up about what we feel." The echo of agreement rippled through the crowd, feeding the growing spirit of solidarity. "Maybe we can make this school a better place," Mia added softly. For a moment, silence reigned, an expectant pause hanging between them and the opponents. It was like a dam had burst. One of the original dissenters stepped aside, his eyes flashing with uncertainty and possibility. "Fine, maybe we can give it a shot." With those words, the tipping point was reached. Realizations cascaded through the crowd, igniting a wave of excitement. "Let us do this," Michael said, feeling adrenaline surge through him. They might still face dissent, but he realized they were moving together, many stronger than alone. Together, they began to brainstorm ideas, as hopes filled the air like confetti. Would they succeed? Who knew? But this moment felt monumental. Michael looked around, joy welling within him. They were battling fear, expectations, and doubt, and they were doing it together. Each voice mattered, every story valuable. As he met Jake and Mia's eyes, he knew they had ignited something powerful, something real, something that could foster change. And in that moment of clarity, with laughter mingling with lingering trepidation and a promise of unity, Michael felt alive. He could see the future glimmering ahead, a path they were forging together, filled with hope and possibility. Every storm, they realized, could indeed bring clarity. The journey was just beginning, but they were ready. They were every step stronger. Do you want to be part of this journey too? This is the moment. You need to subscribe now for more stories that inspire change. Left a like to show your support and help spread the word. Leave a comment below to share how this story impacted you and what it means for you moving forward. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They will thank you later. Don't wait, not even one more second. Together, we can build something transformative.